gonna be honest, Tom Holland is not hot.
It's kind of like about finding yourself and like being who you really are. Welcome back to the Cinema Scoop, and today we're going to be taking a blast from the past and talk about some historical movies. And I don't mean any historic movies from like the 50s or something like that, even though it would be a good episode. Only downside, I doubt anyone on this show has watched any movies from that far back. But I digress. We're going to be talking about historic movies like historic topics, Vietnam War, Korean War, stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get right on into it.
All right, so first we should say, what is a historic film? Because
what is a historic film?
Yeah, because history is yesterday. History is 1 second ago. So what does it have to be a historic film? For me at least, it has to take place during an important time period, such as like a war period. There are a lot of war movies that are historical movies. I wouldn't say that a movie set in say the 70s just to be set in the 70s and it doesn't really have too much of an effect on the plot isn't really a historic movie.
I understand that. But does it have to take place during wartime? Like, for example, if I could think of a historic movie, I'm thinking 1930s, like the Great Depression. That was a very historic point in the U.S. history, even though it wasn't necessarily wartime.
Yeah, I just said that basically a lot of them take place during the war. Of course, there are a ton of other historical events. There's the New Frontier, Wild West. Even I'd say stuff like 1960s, civil rights. That's historic. Even if it's not a war, just it has to have an important effect on society or something, you know?
Yeah. Before we continue, one quick question.
Yeah.
Back to the Future. Is that a historic movie?
Nah.
Boo. Come on, it takes place in the Wild Wild West, or at least the third one did.
Third one I'd say counts.
Yippee.
But even though they do travel back in time, back in history, I wouldn't say
they travel back to the future.
Shut up.
You can't say
but I'd
that.
say it, it wasn't really focused on the history of the world, even though they did go back in time. So movies I'd like to talk about, or one movie is Glory. It came out in 1989. It stars Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, Matthew Broderick, and it's about the Civil War, which is, again, a lot of war movies are historical periods because wars have such a big impact on the history of the world. And it's basically about an all-black unit of the Union for the Civil War Army, and because obviously they segregated the army for some reason, and it's about the all-black unit, and the general or leader of that unit is white, and it's kind of about him being accepted by them. Conforming, teaching them how to be effective in combat, and it's really interesting.
Now, Joe, just so we make sure that you're taught that we're being accurate. When was the Civil War?
1960s.
I'm sorry. When?
1860s. Sorry.
1960s.
Excuse me. What?
1960s.
Excuse me. We were just talking about Back to the Future. That's
okay,
1950s.
Okay.
But excuse me, 1860s. Why do you ask?
I just want to make sure. Okay. You know what? No more trivia for you. No more trivia for you, because,
Okay. Well, anyway, it eventually leads up to the white leader, defending them against, the racist higher-ups. And it's nice to see that, especially during the Civil War times, there were people who, were actually good and not racist and
were actually good.
More accepting. And spoiler alert for the end, the white leader does die in the end, and the final shot is kind of just like a slow zoom on his face when he's dead. And I feel like that's kind of to show the importance of how he was willing to die, not only for his country but for the people he led in his all-black regiment, and I really like that.
That is moving. Like, that
Yes.
even though black people and white people back then, they had a lot of disagreements, they really, you really saw them as lower class or just, inferior
And even
to you.
even now, some people are crazy enough to think that.
But yeah, I mean, it's so nice to see that, or to hear that he eventually dies for his, I think, is it pontoon or just his
Regiment,
regiment?
yeah.
Yeah, let's just say regiment. It's so nice to hear that he dies for his regiment
Yes.
and just puts all that stuff behind him.
Mhm.
And you said that these are Union soldiers, or like a Union.
Yes.
Yeah, makes more sense. Because, I mean, the way you think about it, the North wasn't really that racist, as racist as the South, I would say.
Yeah, of course not, because they were fighting to abolish slavery.
Yeah. I guess you could say that.
Right. Okay, that is it for right about now. Unfortunately, we're not going to have any hallway interviews this episode due to some time constraints, but we'll talk about Nick's favorite movie when we get back.
Welcome back. Now we're going to be talking about my favorite historical movie. Now, this one, or you're going to say something?
No.
You look like you're going to say something. Mine, I watched a little bit more recently. I say recently, a couple of years back. No, last year. What am I saying?
Okay.
All Quiet on the Western Front.
All right, I've heard of that.
Now, there's two of them. There's one from like the 60s and whatever, and then there's one that just came out last year, 2 years ago.
I believe it was based on like a book or something.
Yes,
right?
they're originally based on the book. Not sure who wrote the book. Should have done research on that. But anyways, it takes place in Germany. So we're watching from Germany's side, and Paul and a bunch of his classmates, they hear about the war. They're like, "Hey, let's sign up for the war. This can be really fun."
So is Paul a German?
Yes, Paul.
Oh wow,
German.
that's really interesting because
Yeah,
a lot of World War II movies,
World
War
War
One.
I,
Sorry,
yes.
excuse me. World War I movies and World War II movies are shown from the perspective of
The U.S.
like America or England, basically the good guys, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see how this one took a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. Anyways, yeah, Paul and a bunch of his classmates are like, "Hey, this is going to be, sounds really fun. We should sign up for the war, see what happens." Now, we know a thing or two about war because we're past all of it, and even now we're on the other side of the world, there's war going on. We know war's not fun.
Yeah.
And
a lot of that was due to propaganda. There was a lot of propaganda that glorified war, showed that hey, you're gonna have fun, you're gonna be with your friends, you're gonna get stronger, make a lot of cool experience, travel. But that was really to just get a lot of people to conscript,
Yeah, not only that, there was a lot of glory behind it, signing up for the war, oh, you would be serving your fatherland, as the movie calls it fatherland, even though it's weird. Some people call it motherland, like Russia and all that stuff, but in this movie they call it fatherland. You'd be serving your fatherland, you could be a decorated soldier, you could, all this glory can come down from your name. It's just, which really kind of drew them to the war. But as the movie goes on, obviously, war completely changes them. Paul, our main character, has to watch each and every one of his friends die one by one.
Wow.
Whether it be quick, like them dying in the trenches, or something slow, like starvation and infections or wounds.
That must be really tough. It really shows how brutal war is. Even a lot of movies also glorify it, and most don't, or a lot don't show the really, really bad stuff.
Yeah.
All the horrible ways you can die. World War I was one of the just most depressing wars ever.
That known as the Great War,
Yeah.
or the war to end all wars.
Even though it didn't.
Yeah, they didn't know that at the time.
Yep.
But now we do. But I mean, the way it's not, like I said, it's not really a happy, fun time movie. It's really dark, really serious. Obviously, lots of gore, blood. I don't think there's cursing, so I mean, it's PG-13, I think, or I doubt 13. But definitely not something you should be watching with your parents. Don't watch it with your parents.
Unless your parents are cool
cool like mine. Are your parents cool?
Yes.
Nice.
Nice. Anyway, go on.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Like, it's a lot about the war, the truth of the war, and like how much it can completely destroy a person. Like, that guy is probably gonna probably lived the rest of his life just miserable, sad,
Yeah.
waking up.
Well,
Like,
don't say the rest of his life, because there are impossibly hard tasks to get over, but if like being a human has taught me anything, observing other humans in the whole world, is that humans can get over like anything with time. You know, they're
I
really
guess.
like persevered species as a society. So he definitely probably has PTSD, but I wouldn't say that he's like depressed forever and ever.
I guess, but like, I just love the way you said it.
How?
Like the way you said it, like me as a human watching other humans, like you're just like an
Yes.
alien in disguise, like observing.
Yeah, me
us.
definitely human. You're a human, right?
Yeah,
Of course.
of course.
Watching, observing. Anyway,
Observe.
we're getting off topic.
Just let the record show, if Joe does turn out to be an alien, I'm calling it here first. Anyways, that just about wraps up this topic on history movies. Hope I didn't put you guys to sleep, or well, we didn't put you guys to sleep. But until next time.